Welcome back to RBR, my friends, and welcome to the first Porsche series to fully convert from combustion to full electric, and it is, of course, the brand new Macan. And look at that, it's very familiar, but a lot of things coming in from Taycan and the new Cayenne in terms of exterior look and interior, as you'll see later, into what is now finally a whole new generation of Macan, but of course, full EV. Today I'll be giving you a first look at the first two models that they are releasing, which are the Macan Turbo and the entry-level Macan 4. I'll give you a full look at the design outside and the stunning new interior in line with all new Porsches. But more importantly than that, the questions that we really want answered, like how much is shared with Taycan? What kind of range are we going to get out of the first EV SUV from Porsche? And how much is this thing actually going to cost us as well? So lots to go over today as I show you this, the brand new EV generation of the Porsche Macan. My friends, you care about your balls, I care about your balls, which is why Manscaped have once again sponsored this episode, and no one cares about balls as much as they do. And let's start our New Year's resolutions this year with Manscaped, looking good and feeling good. And they're back now with a huge update to their most popular package, the Performance Package. This is the 5.0 Ultra. This is the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra electric trimmer. So now we've got a brand new trimming head with wider and rounder teeth. And of course it has the usual skin-safe technology that will help get rid of the majority of the hair. But the story doesn't end there. They've got a new head you can put on, which is the foil shaving head. And this helps cut out the finest hair to get the most sleek and bare look possible. The Foil Blade 2 features skin-safe technology. And the great thing is they're so easy to interchange. You just pop one off and pop the other on. It literally takes seconds. The other great thing is now you get a new LED light where you can change the temperature of the light, which helps highlight different types of skin tones, which is really thoughtful of them. And if you're not used to Manscaped like a lot of us are, you'll love features like the USB-C charging port instead of another silly wire. You've got the battery indicator and the fact that this thing is waterproof as well. And I couldn't believe that they're actually throwing in their amazing Weed Whacker in this as well, which is their nose and ear trimmer, again with skin-safe technology. And if that wasn't enough, they're even giving the Crop Preserver and the Crop Soother. You also get two free gifts. One is their boxer shorts, and the best gift is the upgraded travel bag, the Shed 2.0, where you can fit all of this in. So guys, amazing value and all your grooming needs taken care of in this package. Of course, as an RBR viewer, you get a discount. 20% off if you use the code RBR at manscaped.com. Free international shipping and those gifts that I detail. So remember, it's code RBR on manscaped.com. Let's make 2024 about a well-groomed you who is here to stay. Huge thanks to Manscaped and to you guys for supporting our regular sponsors. So guys, the first series Porsche to go all electric with no combustion alternative, and a big risky move, I think, in that regard, because the Macan has been Porsche's one of their best sellers. Almost 1 million units sold in the last generations, and Porsche really hoping to replicate that with now the BEV version in this new world we live in. It's come at an interesting time where the interest in EVs and the values of EVs are both plummeting in a big way, particularly in the UK market. So let's see if this new boy from Porsche can manage it. There is another car coming from Porsche which is also going to be doing the same, abandoning combustion in favor of electric, and that is of course the Boxster EV. And of course we have the heavily updated Taycan on the way as well. So lots of electric vehicles coming from Porsche. Now this one is very important because the Taycan is a very expensive car, and Macan has always been entry level into Porsche. And surprisingly, the pricing not as bad as I thought it was going to be. We have two models, Macan 4, which starts in the UK at 69,000. And then we have the Macan Turbo, giving us over 600 brake horsepower, and that is 95,000 in the UK. Price is higher in Europe, 80,000 plus for the entry-level car and 114 for that turbo version. The car is based on the new 800-volt architecture platform, which is the premium platform electric started by VAR Group. This is the first Porsche to use it, and it will be used across other vehicles in VAR Group as well. The Macan is no alien to this, having shared its previous platform with Audis as well. So the proof of the pudding will be in the Porsche engineering. Now the first thing I want to look at is design, because it's a striking looking small SUV. First of all, it's grown in size, as all things do. It is 4 inches now longer. It is about the same height and it is slightly wider, so it gives you a really nice stance, I think. particularly the shape of the bonnet, which is, it drops in the middle and the arches are kind of higher. It's a little bit reminiscent of super SUVs like the Urus, but that's, you know, really giving it a nice stance, and that's kind of the first thing that hits you. Then of course we've got these huge wheels up to 22 inches on our turbo here, which are the biggest you can get, again really helping with that stance. Notice how the badges are finished in a grey. This is a colour called Turbonite, and it's called Turbonite because it's going to go across all the turbo models. It started with Panamera, and now you see it on the Macan. It looks quite nice on the white car actually. Now the other thing that is very obvious from the off is the Taycan type looks, particularly because of those DRLs. So you've got these slim DRLs sitting on our top arches here, but you have a second set of lights which are within our air intakes at the bottom. Think like 7 Series or like the newer Audis, and these are your main beams. And you can also get optional matrix headlights in these now as well. We've got those large openings then, and these also feature your first bit of active aerodynamics that you'll see on this car. As you can see, the vents opening and closing, and we've got a large lower front splitter, which again I think really helps that direct front aggression of the car. Then we come to the side of the car where you see the familiar Macan side blades, which are finished in carbon in our turbo here. But then underneath that, you see quite a bit of bulk. It's that old EV bulk, and it's hidden here with either black plastic in the Macan 4 or a gloss black in our turbo. So quite a clever way of hiding it, because the car actually does look quite short and sporty on the sides. It's nice that we have our frameless doors back as well, so that's a nice little addition. The rear I think is really nice, particularly in the turbo. Much more interesting than what we had in the Taycan, which was really quite plain, and it's shown well on this white car here. And then you've got the really nice big light. I like the way the light is done in this. It's a nice 3D light like we've seen in recent Porsches, with the Porsche logo sitting in the middle of it. And in the turbo, you can see you've got the little vents underneath the lights that connect to it. The normal Macan 4 just has a flatter finish. The lower diffuser very much like Taycan, so nothing too different there in terms of the design. And then on the rear, you get another bit of active aerodynamics, which is with your rear wing, which is of course is adjustable depending on how you are driving. The Macan 4 looks really good as well actually. I think it's really quite muscular looking. You haven't lost much versus the turbo. The wheel choices, as always with Porsche, really, really nice. I'm not sure about this paint shade. I think it's going to be a bit of a love or hate thing, much like Frozen Berry. But yeah, it's a really, really good looking car all in all. The electric port, much like Taycan, where it nicely slides away within the body of the car. And now we've got actually more boot space than our previous Macan. So we have the boot itself with 540 litres, but of course, like Taycan, we've got a frunk as well with an additional 84, giving us around about 120 plus more litres than the previous car, which is pretty cool. So that's the exterior design. I think bits of it remind me of like some other electric cars. I don't know why it was reminding me of Polestar 3 a little bit, I felt. Like I said, a bit of that Urus look. It is a very sporty coupe looking car. Lots of new Cayenne, of course, a bit of Taycan. It's an interesting mix of different modern things, and it looks like Macan trying to be in the future without losing some of its heritage. It's probably the right way to go. Now let's talk about what's under the skin. Let's talk about performance and what lies beneath. And what we have, of course, is a battery, a large one, 100 kilowatt with a usable amount of 95 kilowatts. In terms of charging power, it can be charged up to 270 kilowatt speeds. So you can get to 10% to 80 in the usual 21 minutes. And of course, because this is the new 800 volt architecture, you might ask yourself what happens when you go to a 400 volt station. Essentially, it splits the battery into almost 2 banks of power of 400 volts each, and then charges that way, which is actually a really clever way of doing it. And you can recuperate up to 240 kilowatts of energy via the motors when you're driving as well, which is pretty damn good. Now you probably want to know most what the range is. I'll get onto that in a minute. Let's first talk about the motors. These both are all-wheel drive cars as standard, at least the initial ones as far as we know. So we've got 2 permanently synchronous electric motors, just like we had in Taycan. And we first have the Macan 4, which has 408 PS and a 0 to 60 of 5.1 seconds, and then the turbo, more powerful, 639 brake horsepower, which is crazy for a Macan, and a 0 to 60 of 3.3 seconds, which is huge. Now, you want to know about mileage. Let's talk about mileage. The Macan 4 is quoting up to 380 plus miles, which is really, really good, a lot better than Taycan, and even the turbo, not far behind, quoted at 360 plus in terms of its range. How much will we get in real world remains to be seen. As we know, these measurements far from accurate in reality, and it depends all on season, but it is a really good start. Some of that aerodynamic body, the 0.25 CD helping in that, no doubt, and indeed all the new stuff that they brought into this new generation of electric cars helping with the range. Now onto suspension and dynamics, which is so important for a Porsche. You get steel suspension as standard, and you can option air suspension, which then gets PASM or Porsche Active Stability Management as standard. And this has a new 2-valve damping system to increase its breadth of ability between comfort and sport. You can option this within your steels as well. And now for the first time, you also get rear wheel steering on the Macan up to 5 degrees. So that, paired with a lot of focus being put on the steering feel on the front end as well, should make this quite an interesting car with its lower gravity. I can't wait to drive it, and we will get onto that soon. So pretty much in line with recent Porsches, what we've seen in the combustion cars and what we've seen in the past in the Taycan, being married into a much, much more up-to-date Macan. Now, what's also in line with recent Porsches is the interior, which rips things straight out of the playbook of the new Cayenne and the Panamera, with the 3-screen concept that we've seen before, the large 12.7-inch curved front driver display with the all-new graphics that we saw in the Cayenne. And then you've got the 2 11-inch displays. One is your center main display that's always there with the new operating system, and finally an optional passenger display should you want to get it. Please don't, because it's really not that useful. You'll also notice that the gear lever, the park button and the start button are all in line with recent Porsches in their style and position. What's also in line with recent Porsches is less buttons. You've got under your vents just some levers which are finished in a gloss metallic to control your temperature, etc. And then you have the singular dial for your volume rocker as well. What's nice is that you have a strong central stack with handlebars, as we've seen in all Porsche SUVs in the past, just kind of a little bit more modernized. We have, however, now got extensive use of ambient lighting in here, which is really nice to see. And in addition to this, some new tricks. For example, augmented reality within our heads-up, which apparently displays as big as an 87-inch screen. In addition to that, we've got the Hey Porsche voice assistant, which apparently is a lot more useful now, and even a Porsche App Center to install third-party apps. So Porsche really basically keeping up with rivals with regards to the digital side of things. In the rear, of course, we have more room because of that extra 4 inches, and depending on the model and options you choose, you actually sit lower than the previous generation as well. And all in all, I think it's a really, really top-notch interior, right up there with Panamera and Cayenne, the top Porsches. Porsche not degrading the interior of their entry-level car just because it's an entry-level car. This is pretty much as good as a Porsche interior gets, so I'm very, very happy to see that. So a very attractive model added to A, the electric world, and B, to Porsche's lineup. Is it going to help reverse this trend of lack of interest and the plummeting values of EVs? Only time will tell. Personally, I can't wait to drive it because I love to see what they do with dynamics, particularly in larger cars, because that's when the magic really becomes apparent. If you guys have enjoyed this episode of RBR and the first look at the new Macan, please do like and subscribe as you always do, and I'll see you guys next time.